Hi everyone, Coldon here with another VOX Immortalis commentary guide. This video is for Theralion and Valiona, the dragon pair in Bastion of Twilight. And believe it or not, this is actually a single tank fight, one of the few we've found so far. To begin, you pull Valiona, and she will engage your tank, try to pull her somewhere to the middle of the room. And then everyone that is a ranged or healer should sort of spread around her. As you can kind of see, we're forming a circle. Try to stay at least 10 yards from other people. The reason for that is because while you're fighting her, Theralion will be dropping these shadow bombs on random people. They're not that dangerous. They hit for around 20,000, 25,000. But they do AE, so again, if you stack up, then more people will take the hit. Right there, she's casting Devouring Flames, which is about every 40 to 45 seconds, and it's just like the effect in Grim Batol, if you've probably seen that. But basically, she'll randomly face someone and then cast a big flame in a semicircle, half circle, and the damage is based on how close you are to her head. So the reason we're just trying to stay close to her is that if she faces toward you, you can just run through her before the flame effect goes off and not take any damage, and then go back to your spot afterwards. The last thing in this first phase is a debuff she'll cast called Blackout, and she casts it randomly on a raid member every 45 seconds. And if that player gets debuffed, they get a magic dispellable effect. If someone dispels it, it does AE damage, split amongst all targets in that area. So if someone gets it, everyone needs to stack up on that player. Generally what we do is stack on the tank or on a melee group, and then the healers will dispel it, and then once it's dispelled, everyone gets hit for AE and you spread back out. You have to spread quickly because the shadow balls that are falling are continuing to happen. If you have shamans in your groups, you can absorb the blackout effect with grounding totem, so that helps a lot if you can time it right. So now you see these purple swirly effects. These are from Theralion. This is signaling the phase transition. So he'll drop 3 pairs of 2, and if anyone stands in those circles when the bombs hit, they take damage, but more importantly, they get ported into the Twilight realm. And the Twilight realm is pretty dangerous. You basically have a lot of floating orbs that if you touch them, they do big damage to you. You take increasing damage over time, and you get a shadow debuff that increases your shadow damage taken over time. So essentially, if you go in there, there's a portal around the room you can click to get out, but you don't want to get hit by those. So now we're in phase 2. Once Theralion lands, our tank grabs him, and what we do is we stack up in 2 groups. I recommend this as well. We have 5 people in the melee group, 5 people in the ranged group, and we always stack facing the entrance door just to make it simple. So the melee group is on the tank, and then the ranged group is sort of at the bottom of the stairs in the top left of the screen right now. And then the effects of this phase start to occur. That big void zone effect is cast by Theralion on a random raid member. So again, it could be on the ranged group or it could be on the melee group. But as soon as it casts, everyone in that group needs to move because it's very dangerous to stand in. You'll also see these purple markers hovering over players. That is something from Valiona, and it basically indicates that player is about to get bombed for really heavy damage. It's around, I think, 90,000 or so, but again, the damage is split amongst all people around. So as long as you're not by yourself and you have that arrow over you, if you stay tight with your group, then it won't be very dangerous. And the last effect here is, if you look in the bottom left, that warlock, well, he was shooting out AE explosions over and over, and that's from engulfing magic. It seems to cast only on people with mana, so think Sindragosa. Everyone loved that fight. Actually, it might be on hunters too, but it's definitely doesn't happen on melee. So what it does is that player will do that pulse AE every time they deal damage or do healing of any kind. That includes hot ticks, dot ticks, things like that. So for classes like Balanced Druids and Warlocks, they need to react very quickly because they'll probably have multiple dots activated, and it can really hurt the people in your group if you don't move out. So that's really the only basic effects. Now you can see the phase transition is started, and this signals for Valiona to fly back and forth over the room and drop these lines of breath. She will do it from the left to the right of the room 3 times, and she can put it in the far back, in the center, which is where you see it there, or in the front, which is on the side we're at. So it's important someone in the raid watches where she's lining up to breath and announces in vent or mumble so everyone can move to an appropriate side. So you do have to still deal with engulfing magic and the void zones, but once she does her 3rd one, then the phase transition will start soon. So here's the blackout I mentioned of this phase. So everyone has to stack up. It was cast on me, and then once enough people are stacked, healers will dispel it. It's a big AE, splits amongst everyone, and then we go back and spread out. And so now we're back in phase 1, and the process simply repeats. There's flames. I think a few people get hit here because we weren't just quite ready for it, but it's survivable as long as you're not right on her head and you move out quickly. And yeah, so that's really the basics of the fight, and then this just repeats until you win or you get the Berserk Timer. Oh, I should have mentioned that those deep breath effects that Valiona was using during the phase transition, those are just like the purple swirly orbs during the phase transition into Theralion, meaning if you get hit by the breath, you get ported into the Twilight Zone, just as you would from the orbs. So it's important no one gets hit by those. If you do go in there and you're all alone, just take your time and find the exit portal somewhere. There should be a couple portals up. But if you try to just rush through, you'll run through the floating orbs that are in that area and almost certainly kill yourself. Hitting an orb will do around 50,000 base damage, and that increases as you're in there longer. So the minor ticking damage in the Twilight Zone is not that bad. So just weave yourself between the floating orbs to get to the portal, and then you'll come back out. And I don't think there's much else to add about this fight. It's pretty fun. I personally like it a lot, but it did take some getting used to, and we had to practice quite a bit to sort of get used to the mechanics. Especially phase 2. I think phase 2 is much more difficult. Phase 1's not all that hard. You just stay spread out, stack up for blackout, spread out, stack up, that kind of thing. And again, if you have shamans, use grounding totem before blackout casts, because it will absorb it and it helps a lot. And I should mention, we tried, when we were first learning this fight and first got our kill, we did a single group to stack up for this phase instead of 2 groups. But what we found is because the Void Zone would always hit that single group of 10 people, it just caused a lot more movement and damage. And doing this, you still split the damage from the bombs of the arrowed people, but you don't have as much movement. So there's a lot more overlap in just time to heal, and DPS can stay still more often, that kind of thing. So that's it. Good luck, and thanks for watching.
Big.